Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. Today's review is going to be more of a review on safety. I put a big warning on the front of the thumbnail there and danger because I showed you two power cords. Now these are two power cords that I happen to see for sale, and I'm going to go over these two power cords. Welding cord remains flexible, blah blah blah. But this here, when somebody were to see this, what do you think? Do you think a lot of people would know the difference, or do you think some people would say, hey, I've got one of these three-prong plugs in my house, and all you have to do is just, well, it converts it, you know, three-prong to three-prong, and, you know, down on the bottom there, you're going to get 120 volts, because it does say right here up at the top, it says 120 volt to 220 volt, and, you know, like in my house, that particular plug is not 220, it's 240. But different places in the world, yeah, they'll go from 110, 120 to 220 to 240. But, you know, how many of you would look at this that don't know much about electrical? Maybe thinking that, you know what, I got this plug in my house, or I got this plug out in my garage, and I can't really use it to plug anything in because everything I got is 120. Look at this neat adapter. So let's go on to the next one. That you'd use for your hedge clipper or any other device that you have in your house. Well, that is an impossibility, because the first thing that will happen is whatever you plug it into will be severely damaged. If not, somehow it could be possible that it may give you one wild shock if you survive, because these things are not designed as some people may look at an ad and think the way it is. And then we're going to take a look at the second one, where they give you the impression that you can have a dryer outlet for your dryer in your house that's 240 volt, but it actually has a the drum itself runs off of 120, so it's a four-prong. And the problem that some people have is, well, they want to actually use that in a very kind of odd way. And in the thumbnail you can see there's another cord kind of attached in there, and it's like converting a three-prong to a four-prong with a wire. And, you know, I'm going to go into this a little bit, but I'd really enjoy to see the comments from my friends that are master electricians on my channel. And read the comments below, and you will see how it's so easy for people to make a huge mistake buying something electrical if they really don't know what they're buying. Because the way you can read an ad today will make you think that what you're buying is not really suited for your needs, and it could either hurt you or it could hurt somebody else, burn your house down. It could do all kinds of stuff, you know. But that's the reason why I put the danger and warning on the thumbnail. So let's get to it right now, and let's go over to the Amazon website, and let's take a look at a couple of these things and discuss them, and then I'll come back after. Well, as you can see right there, we're going to go over to the Professional Welder Extension Cord. Now, would somebody who doesn't know the difference would be able to say to themselves, okay, it's for a welding machine, and they're talking about 14 gauge, 3000 volt. I really don't see anything wrong for a welding machine here, to tell you the truth, except if you left this thing plugged into the wall with this outlet hanging out, I'm telling you, I'd be afraid that somebody would come by and actually use it. But yeah, it says welding machine cord, three-prong socket, three-prong plug, welding cord remains flexible, blah blah blah. But this here, when somebody were to see this, what do you think? Do you think a lot of people would know the difference, or do you think some people would say, hey, I've got one of these three-prong plugs in my house, and all you have to do is just, well, it converts it, you know, three-prong to three-prong, and you know, down on the bottom there, you're going to get 120 volts because it does say right here up at the top, it says 120 volt to 220 volt. And you know, like in my house, that particular plug is not 220, it's 240. But different places in the world, yeah, they'll go from 110, 120 to 220 to 240. But you know, how many of you would look at this that don't know much about electrical, maybe thinking that, you know what, I got this plug in my house, or I got this plug out in my garage, and I can't really use it to plug anything in because everything I got is 120. Look at this neat adapter. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this one here is really neat. You can see how it's got some really terrific graphics here on showing you about this plug. And you've got this plug here, and wow, that's pretty good, right? And then we'll go on to the next one, and it shows you that it's 1.5 feet long, and you know, 1.5 feet, 18 inches long. You can still have green cable sticking out of there, and this is to go from a 3-prong to a 4-prong, and this is both a 120 volt, 250 volt, 30 amp connector socket. And yeah, if we just go over to the next one here, see how easy it looks? Safely and easily plug and unplug. So now they're showing you how great the wiring is here and everything. And then here they'll show you, you see how you got that connector in between? So you're going from a 3-prong to a 4-prong so you can get your dryer to work. And you know, that's the whole idea behind this. You got the top left side is, well, the guy's not too happy, and then you got a big smiley face on the other side. And now we're looking right here, and it says that green wire, safety ground wire. Plug the green ground wire into any regular household 15 amp or 20 amp ground hole. Now that's very fascinating to me, because in my limited use of electricity, I find that problematic. I'd be willing to bet there's a lot of master electricians may find that highly problematic too. So this is the whole idea here. As you can see up on the top there, they got a 3-prong, and on the bottom they got a 4-prong, and now everybody's happy because they got that green wire sticking in a regular receptacle socket. So if we just go back to right here, in my limited experience, this is where the master electricians come in handy. In my limited experience, when you've got 240 volts, you've got a ground, you got 2 power wires. There is no neutral. Now they're saying that that green wire with that little silver tip is supposed to give you, well, they're saying not a neutral, they're saying it's supposed to give you a ground. Well, I tell you what, let's go back over here. Yeah, it's already got a ground, and it's right here up at the top. The L-shaped connector up at the top there is this one here. Yeah, that's the ground. You got the 2 power right here. Now they're saying this is a ground. And I'm going, no, that's not a ground as far as I know, but I'd be interesting to hear what my friends, the master electricians, would think, because, well, they're saying it's just as easy as just putting this here and getting your ground. But it's already got a ground. So what are they trying to do here? What is the purpose here? I'm thinking they're trying to get the neutral that's attached to the ground at the fuse panel. But I'm saying I don't know if that's actually a kosher thing to do, because ground wires are not supposed to actually be used as a neutral. The whole safety reason behind that is it's used primarily to detect whether you have voltage touching your ground. And now they're just adding another ground? What's the purpose of adding another ground? Well, you got to add another neutral, right? Because you can't get 120 volts to work without a neutral. So what do you think of this? So there's just two products, but I tell you, the whole internet is full of products like this, and I'd like to get some feedback from my viewers of what you think. The first instance, when they're saying that you can, well, they're kind of mentioning a converter, you know, from 120 at one end and 220 at the other, or 240 and 220 and 110. And I'm saying, you know what? That particular description of use is very problematic as far as I'm concerned, and I can see where somebody may use that and have tragic consequences. The second one, I'm completely baffled about adding an additional ground. Just doesn't make sense to me at all. I believe that they're actually just using it to get a false neutral. I mean, the whole idea of the safety of a breaker switch or a fuse is if it comes in contact with metal, or if the ground and the power supply touch each other, it's supposed to trip the breaker. But now you've got, I don't know how they do this, but they're saying that they're going to steal a ground off of your 120 volt receptacle socket, but it's really a neutral. They're going to run it from a 3-prong over to a 4-prong so that you can get your dryer to work, because the dryer needs 120 volts for the drum to operate. And I just tell you, I thought about this for a long time, and I thought, what's the effects of that? Because they're actually taking, as far as I could see, is a neutral. They're using it as a neutral, and they're feeding it through a ground. And what is the possible implications of upstream or downstream connections? And, you know, I don't know, but I'll be looking forward to read the comments below. But I tell you the truth, myself, they're both problematic. And the whole internet is full of these type of things where somebody, well, English may not be a first language, you know, and showing at one end 120 volt and the other end, you know, 240 volt. I mean, come on. You just can't play around with that kind of stuff. And generally, all the, you know, Underwriter Laboratories or CSA or any of these regulated entities, don't fool around with stuff like that. You'll never see like a real legitimate company actually have a description of something that's so far out there that, you know, can cause so much misuse. And that's the problem, because you have people who don't really understand a lot of the things that they're reading. They're looking pictorial. Like a lot of people's minds operate off of, you know, pictorial views, and they can see this and they can visualize how it's supposed to work. Some people might not know the difference, right? So I think the first one is very highly problematic. The second one, I think you can get it to work. It would work. I think it would work as it is. But is it working to code? Is it working to, you know, to defeat maybe a problem upstream or downstream? Because I don't know how that would react. I have no idea how that is even possible, you know, because you're getting a neutral from your ground, and, you know, and saying that it's just another ground. Well, if you got two live wires, two hot wires, and you got a ground, and you add another ground, nowhere in there have I heard, you know, something start with an N, which is a neutral. You need a neutral. So, wow, just blows my mind when you see the stuff on the internet these days. And I think it's good to just give everybody a reminder. If you're not too sure about something electrical, like stuff like this on the internet, have a friend, make a phone call and save yourself a lot of aggravation, or even worse. So thanks for joining me here today. Come back again. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. see some interesting videos on some interesting stuff. And well, I hope you found this interesting too. Cheers.